We may all be glued onto our television sets watching the high action drama that is unfolding in the IPL. But let me remind you, the biggest sports story right now is playing out on the streets of New Delhi. It is the biggest story because it involves some of the biggest names in Indian sport. Olympic medalist, World Championship medalist. As you know, some of our top wrestlers have been protesting. They've been doing a dharna at Jantar Mantar against what they call is the mismanagement, sexual harassment, and various other charges that they've leveled against the Wrestling Federation of India boss, Brij Bhushan Sharan. And the lack of any sort of action from the part of the government is actually showing the current dispensation, the current establishment in poor light. We're going to highlight 5 burning questions right now, which the government, which the powers that be in Indian sport really need to answer right now. Our first burning question is, why is the report not being made public? Now, remember, there was an oversight committee that was set up by the sports ministry. Now, these were independent members that looked into the charges that were leveled against the WFI boss. Now, those charges were of mismanagement, of sexual harassment. There have been 14 meetings between that oversight committee and the aggrieved wrestlers. That report was submitted by that committee to the sports ministry on 5th of April. We're now in the end of the month, so many days have gone by. Why is it that the finding of that report haven't been made public? All right, every little detail of that report cannot be told to the public at large. However, the important points, the salient points really need to be made public. Most important amongst all of them is the sexual harassment charges. That the sports ministry hasn't done so far. And then that actually then starts finger pointing, where people start questioning that, listen, are you trying to protect somebody? And they're going to say, you're going to protect somebody who's also a member of parliament from the same political party that is also running the sports ministry. So as you know, Brij Bhushan Sharan is a BJP MP, a 6-time BJP MP. And if there are some serious charges, why are those charges not being made public? Now, what we're getting to hear, and these are murmurs, that he has been given a clean chit in the sexual harassment charges. That might be the case. If the committee has found him not guilty, so be it. But that has to be made public. So the first question is, why is the sports ministry not making all the findings of that report public at the moment? The next serious question is, why is the FIR not being registered? Now remember, after the wrestlers thought, or at least heard, that Brij Bhushan Sharan had been given a clean chit in that independent committee report, they actually went to the Delhi police to file an FIR. But Delhi police refused to entertain that. They refused to file that FIR. On Delhi police's behalf, they said that, listen, they need to do some sort of preliminary inquiry, and only after that will they file the FIR. However, then the wrestlers actually had to go to the Supreme Court. They filed an affidavit there, and then Supreme Court heard their plea. After that, the Supreme Court has directed the Delhi police, or in fact, the Delhi police that deposed in front of the Supreme Court said that, okay, we are in these circumstances ready to now file the FIR. But the question is, why is it that the Delhi police were reluctant to file that FIR in the first place? Again, you're going to draw some sort of connection between a BJP MP, that is Brij Bhushan Sharan, and also that the Delhi police comes under the Home Ministry. Is there a connection there? Is it why the Delhi police wasn't filing an FIR? That is a relevant question to ask at this moment. In our list of burning questions, at number 3 comes the question that why did the BJP as a political party not take any sort of action against their own MP? Now, as I said, Brij Bhushan Sharan is a 6-time MP from Kesarganj in Uttar Pradesh. And once these charges were leveled against him by some prominent names in Indian wrestling, why did the BJP not suspend him? I mean, as is the norm. Whenever there are charges, yes, once he gets a clean chit, he could continue. Why did they not suspend him from the party? Or for that matter, why did they allow him still to helm the Wrestling Federation of India? At least some conversation could have happened between Brij Bhushan Sharan and let's say the sports minister, even the home minister, and then he would have been asked to step aside, at least from the Wrestling Federation of India. He was not. In fact, he chaired the annual general meeting that took place on the 16th of April, while that entire inquiry was on, and at that time in that AGM decided to have elections on the 7th of May. So he was allowed to even do that. In those elections, many are saying he was pretty open. He mentioned that, yes, I'm not going to contest the election. I will not be president. That's because 12 years have gone by, and according to the National Sports Code, he cannot be the president. But at the same time, quite brazenly, he came out and said, yes, I may not contest for the president because the sports code doesn't allow me to do that. However, that does not mean I will not be part of the Wrestling Federation of India. He goes on to say, and many believe that he could be part of that 5-member executive committee. He could get himself elected there. The other possibility is he gets his son Karan, who's currently the president of the Uttar Pradesh Wrestling Federation, him to contest, and in that sense, then he becomes the proxy for him, where Karan could be the president, but it's effectively going to be Brij Bhushan Sharan who's going to be running the federation from behind closed doors. So all of these things then lead to conjecture. The moot point once again, that if he is a member of that party which is currently in power, and then there are these grave allegations against him, why is it that the BJP have not come out and said anything against him? Why is it that they have not taken any sort of action against him? Our burning question number 4 is, why has the Prime Minister not intervened yet? And I say this because the Prime Minister is very proactive. He is a follower of sports. You've often seen him speak to a lot of athletes after they bring laurels to the country. Sometimes these very athletes that are now on Dharna in Jantar Mantar, why has the Prime Minister not come out and spoken or said anything about it? Why has he not addressed this complaint? Remember, this is an ongoing episode which has been going on for now 3 long months. We haven't heard from him. In fact, these same wrestlers have now come out and said in as many words, quote unquote, that when will the Prime Minister listen to our Mann Ki Baat? So that's something that the wrestlers feel should be done. We've seen the Prime Minister earlier talk about various campaigns that they've launched, like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. They've got the Khelo India campaign. So various other, there's the top scheme where the government actually funds a lot of athletes to do well in the Olympic. So when you've got these campaigns running, then how is it that you're not going to look at the welfare of these athletes? And remember, once again, I keep reiterating the fact that these are not some state level athletes, district level athletes, where their voices may not be heard by the powers that be. These are the biggest name in Indian sport. They're getting continuous coverage in the media. So there is, no chance of the Prime Minister not knowing that there is an ongoing crisis here. Why has he not addressed this issue? Why has he not spoken to the MP of his party? Why has he not even spoken to the athletes? Why has he not come out and in any way put forward his thoughts on this subject? So that's another important issue, and that is what will also lead to some finger pointing when it comes to the current dispensation. Last but definitely not the least is our 5th big question that needs to be addressed, and that is it now independent probe that is going to happen? Is it really indiscipline, or is it bias at play? Indiscipline is a word that has been used by the current IOA boss, that is PT Usha, again an athlete of repute. She is helming the Indian Olympic Association. She's come out and said that the wrestlers protesting in Jantar Mantar amounts to indiscipline. They should have come to the IOA. However, what this statement does is actually, in a way, highlight the bias that the IOA president may have at the moment. Remember, the IOA also is investigating this matter, and this is an ongoing investigation. While that investigation is on, if a president of that association comes out and says this is indiscipline, it somehow highlights that bias, and then the wrestlers are pretty much in their right to believe that the probe may not be fair because there is already a bias against them because they believe that this is indiscipline. PT Usha also says that they should have come to the IOA. Can you really blame the athletes for not going to the IOA? There are also going to be inferences from here as well. People are going to look at the connection that PT Usha, who is an athlete, you would often expect athletes to come out in support of fellow athletes. That hasn't happened. What is not going to go unnoticed in that entire episode is the fact that PT Usha was nominated to the Rajya Sabha by the current ruling party, that is the BJP. She was made the head of the Indian Olympic Association, backed by the BJP, and she won that election uncontested. There was nobody else contesting. So clearly there is a connection between PT Usha and the current dispensation, which also has Brij Bhushan Sharan as its MP. So when there are going to be so many connections, and then you come out and say what the athletes are doing at the moment, what the wrestlers are doing at the moment is indiscipline, then you really cannot blame the wrestlers for not having any faith in the Indian Olympic Association. While all of this is happening, while one athlete is not supporting his fellow athlete, thank God there are some other big names, the likes of Kapil Dev, the likes of Abhinav Bindra, that have come out now in support of these wrestlers. This is an ongoing episode. We in the media have a job of highlighting the plight of an athlete, and what happens in this entire story is something that we will continue to track here on Sports Today. What do you feel? Do put in your comments below this video, and do give us a like if you enjoyed our content.